we do have a special event honoring Fresno Audubon board member Lowell Young for his role in the creation of the Southern Sierra Important Bird Area. And here with more details on that, we have Deanna Wulff, who is Executive Director of Unite the Parks, and Andrea Jones, who is Director of Bird Conservation from Audubon, for Audubon, California. First up, we have Deanna Wulff. Deanna, I pass the floor off to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are here for some very exciting reasons. As you said, the Lowell Young Southern Sierra Nevada, IBA. I also think that we are here for two great reasons, and one is Audubon, and the other is Lowell Young. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history about how we got to know each other, and I'll make it as short as possible. But just to give you an idea of what he's done to protect the Sierra Nevada and how important it has been. So I've been working a long time to create the Range of Light National Monument, but I started with a clipboard and a piece of paper. And the reason I got to know Lowell is because I looked online to see if I could find people locally in the Sierra Nevada that I thought might be interested in working on protections. And it came up that he had won the Callison Award. And I thought, hey, maybe he'll help me. Can you hear me? I'm hearing it. I don't have audio.
I can hear you.
Okay. So, all right, good. So I just cold called Lowell and said, hi, I have this idea and will you meet with me? And so he said yes. And we met at the Sugar Pine Cafe in Mariposa, and we talked for a long while. And he said, okay, I'll sign your petition, but for you to get Audubon in support, the Yosemite area Audubon in support, he gave me like a list of 20 people to contact. He said, you need to get an advisory board together and you need to build a website. And I was like, okay. So I came back a year later and I said, all right, Lowell, I've got all those things. Will you take a vote? And the Yosemite chapter voted in support of the national monuments. And that was our first organization that we had in support. And that was a really big moment for me. And I was super, super grateful to him for his guidance. But that's just like part A. We're going to get to the IBA. Part B is Lowell knows a ton about the Democratic Party, and I didn't know anything about it. So is everything okay?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, all right. I just heard some noises. So he's convinced me that we should try to get the Democratic Party to adopt a resolution in support of protecting the Southern Sierra Nevada and the Range of Light National Monument. And I was a little bit resistant, but I thought, okay, I'll try that. And it was, a lot of work, a lot of speeches, and we worked on the resolution together. And then another year or so later, we had the California Democratic Parties in support. And then once we got their support, Lowell says, I have a friend who's on the executive committee for the DNC. Why don't we send it off to them? So next thing you know, we have the Democratic National Committee in support. So he's been helping all along. And we're going to get back to the IBA situation and also the Fresno area Audubon. But before I get to that, I think when we think about environmentalism, it takes passionate individuals, but to get something done, it takes a village. And it takes a good team. And the people we want to have on our team, we want to have A players. And if you're building a team, you want Lowell Young on your team. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But there's certain aspects of his character that are just so fundamentally amazing and important. In politics and even in environmentalism, there can be competition and ego and all kinds of power games. And one thing about Lowell is he just never plays those games. He always acts to connect people, to build community, and he acts with integrity. And it's really rare. He's a remarkable person, and he is so deserving of this honor. And I'm so grateful for his friendship. So that's just on who he is as a person and how important he has been. to me and also to the Sierra Nevada. Now back to Audubon. So we got a lot of support. And he also directed me to reach out to Robert Snow to get the support from the Fresno Audubon group that we're talking to tonight. And Robert basically said, well, if Lowell supports you, then we're going to support you. So they took a vote and also supported, your organization also supports this. And then the next step with the IBA was we started to set our sights on the California leadership. And that is how Andrea and Megan got involved. And they began to suggest that we should consider doing an IBA. And I think, Robert, you were involved in some of those conversations as well. So off we went. We did a lot of work on that and had a lot of help. And they built this beautiful, beautiful map. And I'm almost done with this. I just wanted to say that the thing about Audubon that is also amazing, in addition to Lowell being amazing, is that they pay attention to the people that, volunteer for them and that work for them. And it's a pretty spectacular thing. So it really is Lowell and also the organization that are to be commended and respected for what they do. And I hope that Unite the Parks can be as amazing as Audubon is someday. Anyway, and so I'm really excited that we are here to celebrate, I think maybe what is one of the biggest IBAs in California. It covers a huge stretch of the Sierra Nevada. And I just want to express my gratitude to Andrea and Megan and Lowell Young for all that they have done. Thank you. And with that, I will pass the baton to Andrea to describe the new IBA, which is right behind me, or at least one part of it.
Thank you, everyone. And I love being on calls with Deanna because she's always in a beautiful setting. And it's been wonderful getting to know Deanna through this process. So thank you so much for your work, Deanna. We couldn't have done this without you. And I'm going to start sharing my screen and show you more about this IBA, because I think you'll be wowed by the size and the scope of what we did. But I also wanted to thank Lowell, especially for his patience. We were a little slow at getting this done. It was during COVID. We were distracted with so many different things. We're short-staffed. As Robert knows, we try and do a lot of things at Audubon, California. We don't focus a lot on the Sierra. And that's why we have people like Lowell, we have Fresno Audubon, Kern Audubon, Yosemite Era Audubon, and others that really are people that focus in the Sierra region. And none of us have actually said what an IBA is. An IBA is an important bird area, and it's a network of sites all around the globe. In the United States, they're managed by the National Audubon Society, and they cover millions of acres of habitat designated on very specific scientific criteria, identifying sites that are particularly important for breeding, wintering, and/or migratory birds. We've got 220 IBAs in California, now 221, because we just added this new gigantic IBA, which is the second largest IBA in the country. And the National Audubon Society uses the Important Bird Areas program to basically highlight the places most important for birds. It's not the only place that we work, but it's where we do most of our work. It's where Audubon can put its flag in the ground, and we can showcase these places of being particularly important. And they help in policy, they help get funding to places, and they sort of give a place a stature of importance and designate them as important bird areas. And it becomes part of the global network that's managed by BirdLife International. So it's a pretty big deal for Audubon. Audubon's been involved in the Important Bird Areas program for about 25 years. And with that, I'm gonna share screen because I know we've got a great presentation coming up, and I don't wanna steal all the time, even though I'd love to talk about Lowell for the next 30 minutes. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, great. And so you will see on here a giant green blob. And so what was amazing about working with Lowell is just his persistence in the fact that we got this done. And we didn't go small, we went big. This is 6 million acres. And you can see it's much bigger than any other important bird area in California. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit to the IBA, and you can see the area it covered. And Lowell was really important, as were others on our team, Deanna and Megan, and our science team, in figuring out how to make these boundaries. And so it's the Southern Sierra Nevada. So we go from Stanislaus National Forest all the way down to Sequoia National Forest. And we followed a habitat and elevation gradient. And our science team really went to work on this. We had to sort of develop a new methodology on how to map an area this big and make it a significant and scientifically defensible. And for the Important Bird Areas program, you have to focus on rare and endangered species. So we focused on the birds on this list: great gray owl, spotted owl, northern goshawk, blackback woodpecker, and willow flycatcher. And we looked at their ranges, where their ranges occur across the Southern Sierra, overlaid them all, and then used watershed boundaries to map the edges of the IBA. And we go almost as far south as the Kern River Valley, for those of you know it, and include all of Yosemite National Park, of course. And we kept to the sort of the higher elevations, 4,000 feet to 14,000 feet, to cover these birds, which are all, and just as an example, the great gray owl, there's only about 300 of them left, and 65% of them live in Yosemite National Park areas. So really important for that species, as well as 168 breeding birds and more than 300 birds during migration. So really significant area. I guess that's all I'll show you now, because I know we want to yield the time, and I'd like to see if Lowell would like to say a few words. But anyway, we are thrilled to be able to name this IBA after Lowell for his, I'm gonna get all choked up now. It's just like Diana almost did, but for his great achievements in the Sierra area, and working in both Yosemite Area Audubon Society as president and with Fresno Audubon. And it's my pleasure to be able to do this.
Well, jeepers. You know, first, I'm really deeply honored. I really am. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted. But this whole project took a team. You know, I'm just a small little piece of that team. And I'll tell you, the work that the folks at Audubon put into this and the time they spent on it just absolutely amazed me. And what amazed me even more was how they made this whole thing come together, and they fit the pieces together and made it work. It's just beyond me. But at any rate, I got to tell you, I love every one of those gals at Audubon, Deanna included, and they're really too good to me. But what can I say? I'm really, really thrilled and honored. And please remember, I'm just a small cog in a big team. Okay.
I'll just close out quickly by saying we're going to be sending out some press releases and announcing this to the other Sierra area chapters after this call. We wanted to sort of announce it to you guys first, but we'll get the word out more broadly so that everyone knows that this important bird area exists. Thank you again, Lowell, for your work on this.
Thank you all. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.